So sit comfortably. Here we are, it's Thursday and another holiday tomorrow. So close your eyes and let yourself lengthen up. Be a bit comfortable in the way you're sitting. You know that if you need to sit up on blankets, do it. Just be mindful of being able to lengthen up through the top of your head. Be comfortable in your hips, your shoulders. Just feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Letting your breath come into your belly, feeling your belly rise and expand as you inhale. On your next exhale, let your head come forward, chin down towards your chest, only as far forward as you want to come. Just letting that release happen in the neck and maybe there in your upper back. And then rise yourself on back up so your chin comes parallel to the floor. And let's tilt our head to the right ear towards your right shoulder. And then rising back up through center and left ear towards the left shoulder. Just letting yourself feel that release wherever it needs to happen. And then we'll come on back up with the head and let our hands come right to meet right in front of our chests. And let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline. Keep them together as long as you can. Only go as high as your shoulders let you. And when you exhale, let the hands come back down to be right in front of your chest. So just starting to warm up the shoulders, inhaling the hands up through the midline, doesn't matter how high. And when you exhale, they'll come on back down again to be in front of your chest. And then one more time, we'll inhale the hands right on up through the midline and let your exhale bring them on back down to be in front of your chest. And we'll unfold our arms on down beside us here now. Take a nice inhale. And on your exhale, twist to the right. So bring yourself around. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. Find that twist in the middle of your back. Also be aware of feeling your feet in the floor a little bit. Press down into your feet. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll move on back around through center and keep on going into the other direction. So again, as you press down a little bit into your feet, you feel your belly engage. Feel your sit bones reaching down. One more inhale. And on your exhale, come on back around into center again. And now let's come forward and back with our breath. Let your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back. Does not matter how far you go with that forward motion. Just starting to feel the body moving with your breath. Good, and the next time you come forward, let yourself stay there. It does not matter how far forward you want to stay, right? You can go deeper if you want. You can let your hands go farther out if you're on the floor. You can come elbows above your knees if you're in your chair, or hands down towards the ground. So just be easy. Feel that low back, just getting a nice stretch there. But be mindful so that it feels comfortable. If you can, let your head hang too, as long as it's okay for your back. One more breath here. And then be mindful as you start to rise up. Let yourself Come on back up. If you're cross-legged on the floor, switch the cross of your legs so you have your other leg in front, so you even out your hips. And then we'll release our arms again on out beside us. Let your fingertips, if you're on the floor, just lightly touch the floor. Lengthening up through the crown of your head. And then start to float your hands up higher. Turn the palms up now. Keep floating the hands up into a wide open V. So you feel the palms face each other, maybe even draw the pinkies in a little more towards each other too. So you feel all that space between your ears and your shoulders. One more breath here. And then lower your right arm on down. Let's lengthen through the left side and come over into a side stretch. Hand can come to the floor, you know that. If you're in your chair, an arm can hang. Just let yourself open up through the side body there. And let's come back up to the arms in that V shape. So bringing that right arm back up and letting yourself, again, turn the pinkies a little more towards each other. Feel space between your ears and your shoulders. And then we'll lower the left arm down and we're going to reach up through the right side as we come over into that side stretch. Feeling that sense of a lot of space between the ribs as you inhale on that to that right side. And then we'll come back again one more time to that wide V with our arms. Turn those pinkies towards each other. If you like to look up, you can look up a little bit or not. And then as you exhale, bring your gaze back forward. Bring your hands down to be in front of your chest. And then bow your head forward like we did at the beginning. Just to let yourself feel how you feel now in your neck and your upper back. And then we'll start to look back forward again. And we're going to unfold our arms, shake out a little bit, and let's stretch our legs out for a second here. So whether you're in your chair or on the floor, let yourself start to move your feet in circles, whether they go the same or opposite directions, doesn't matter. Just let yourself enjoy. Feel that movement through the ankles. Sometimes it's fun to switch. So if you get started same way or the opposite way, switch and do the other, because it does feel different. And then take your time, flex and point a little bit, pedal your feet, just warming up now, feeling your toes, and then just wiggle your toes around a little bit. Come back to wiggling the toes a little. And we're going to come on around and towards our hands and knees. You know, if you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. Chair can be under your hands. Blanket can be under your knees if you need on the floor. Be aware of your wrists. So don't force anything into your hands, you know. Sometimes we get, I don't know about you guys, but I do, get sort of, you know, iffy feeling or stiffness a little bit in my hands or my wrists. And if I accommodate and kind of let it go, sometimes it'll get a little bit better. So be mindful. Take your time when you start to move through your cat-cow. Just letting yourself ease your way through. Stay in the cat or cow as long as you want. You know, sometimes it feels good to just stay in the pose and then move through and stay in the next pose. And sometimes it feels better to move continuously. But just imagine, think about what your spine looks like when you do this, when you roll through like this, and how the muscles alongside of your spine, you know, help get warmed up, and they help keep your spine in alignment. Good. Finish off the one you're on. Come on, back to a more neutral spine. And let's come into our lunges, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. And take your time to get accustomed there to the length of your stance, finding the sense of being on very narrow railroad tracks so you feel really good up into your hips. Even when you press your feet away from each other a little bit, it feels really good to feel that engagement up into your hips. And we are going to switch legs, so however you need to go to the other side. Take your time, again, feet more like narrow railroad tracks distance between, and then that length of your stance is totally up to you. Just be mindful of that front knee. You don't want to bend it any farther forward than your ankle. And when you do, gently press your feet away from each other and feel your belly engage and your hips engage deeper. Good. We're going to switch legs again. So Again, once you find that lunge, see about letting your left hand come on up to your low back there and roll your shoulder up and come into that twist so that it feels really easy. You're very level feeling right here in your sacrum, in your low back. And then we'll come on back down with that hand, and we're going to switch legs again. So again, get really solid in your lunge there. That way when you're ready to bring the right hand up, it feels easy. You can draw the shoulder up. You can put your palm down on your low back. Lengthen out through the top of your head, back through your inner heel. Good. And then we'll bring our hand back down, and we're going to step forward and come on into our standing forward bend, where you have your feet hips distance apart and parallel. Walk a little bit if you choose to, or sometimes it feels really good to bend your knees quite deeply in your forward bend, and then let them be less bent, just to wake up a little bit more. But feel really good about your back. Use whatever support you need. Elbows can be above your knees. You can have your hands on your chair or forearms on your chair, or hands down to your blocks. And then just let your head move a little bit. Maybe let it turn side to side, or maybe you like to nod your head a little bit. Just enjoy feeling that weight of your head. And then when you can, let your head hang too. Feel your sitting bones over your heels. And really let your breath come in and go out easily through both sides of your nose. Even imagining you're breathing equally in and out through both sides. And as we let our knees bend now, we're going to bring our hands to our hips and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose here. So take your time. If you need to adjust a little bit, do. Let yourself get comfortable in how far apart your feet are. If you need to look at them, do. And as you bring your gaze forward, whether your eyes are opened or closed, just imagine you're really looking out beyond the wall in front of you. And then just allow the body to find its way into being aligned, which it will. Especially once you get your pelvis aligned, everything just wants to stack up. Let your face feel soft, and really your jaw. Let go if your jaw feels like you're tensing up a little bit. Try to release. We'll unfold our arms. Let your knees bend just a tiny little bit. Press into your feet as you inhale your arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees and come on forward into that standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. Remember, you can put your hands wherever you want. Your shins, your chair, your legs, your blocks, whatever works. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge from here. And coming into downward facing dog pose, you all know your hands go whatever height you like, onto the chair, onto the blocks, onto the floor, letting yourself reach back, even if it means bending your knees quite a bit. Really focus on that length of your spine here now. And as you hug your elbows towards each other, really find that sense of your shoulders being in this really good place. You don't want to feel discomfort in your shoulders. And the height of your hands, whether they're lower or higher, can make a huge difference. We're going to come on out towards a plank. You know you don't have to do a full push-up pose. That is totally up to you how far you go. You can put knees down, do a half. You can go to forearms. You can bend your elbows, do little push-ups if you feel like it. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Reaching back equally through those sitting bones. And again, finding that sense of space in your spine, length. And we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. And you know, whatever you need to do to get into that lunge. Knee or knees down, or coming up and then back down into your lunge. And then we'll come on forward again, back to our standing forward bend. Feet hip distance apart and parallel. And again, be mindful. I mean, some of you might be fine and ready to let your elbows be held by your hands, right? If that feels good, you feel that whole weight of the torso, go for it. But if that puts too much into your back, you know, use support. Watch your breaths all the way in, all the way out, and just let yourself receive your breaths as fully and deeply as you can. And then we'll let our hands come up to our hips, press into our feet as we rise on up. We'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. And then clasp your hands and let them come right down to the back of your head. Your elbows are kind of reaching out. Let yourself press your head into your hands gently, but keep your chin parallel to the floor. Feel the feet in the floor. And press equally down into your feet. You might even want to bend your knees a little bit. You don't want to lock your knees. So really feeling the core body here, feeling the legs engaging, feeling yourself really aligned in your pelvis there. One more breath. And then let yourself release the arms up overhead. We're going to open them like wings and fold forward from our hips into standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And this time we'll step left foot back to come into lunge. Draw those shoulders down. Let yourself now really, as you start getting warmed up, the lunges feel better and better. And we're going to come on into a down dog from here. So again, as you make your way to your down dog, blocks or floor for your hands or chair, and reach back. If you like to walk, go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Let yourself easily release. Maybe you feel better to bend both knees. Again, just enjoy. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. Again, it doesn't have to be a full plank. It can be a half. It can be a forearm plank. You can do push-ups if you want. You can, if you want, just bend your elbows towards your ribs and stay there for a breath. That'll really get you going in your biceps and your shoulders. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. And this time we'll bring the left foot forward to find our lunge. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend again. And again, be mindful. Feel the weight of your head as you can. Let yourself watch your breath all the way in and out, and see if you can focus on feeling the ribs expanding when you inhale. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, press into our feet, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. From here, we're going to lower our left arm down, come over into side stretch. Let yourself connect this left hand to the outside of your leg down there. So your palm's facing inward. And kind of, the hand just slides down, maybe a little bit more. Once you get there, you think you can't go any further, but maybe the hand can slide down a little more. And then we're going to come on back up. We're going to switch arms. So again, you kind of connect to your leg, slide the hand down, maybe just a little bit at first. Feel what that feels like. And then sometimes it's like, oh, well, I can reach a little farther down my leg, which really increases that side stretch, even just a little bit. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. Let's lower both arms down. We're going to inhale the arms forward and all the way up. Wide V if you want. And then as we exhale, we're going to bend our knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice, long, flat back. And we're going to find down dog. So again, hands can be where you like. On the chair seat, on the blocks, on the floor. And just easily walk your dog a little bit again. Bend a knee at a time. And if you feel like turning your head side to side, do that too. Just so you let your head turn and you let your neck release a little bit. Good. And then come on back to a full dog. And we're going to come on out towards the plank. And again, this is totally optional. You all know you can do a back bend here or not. You can stay in plank. You can do push-up if you'd rather. You can come to either a upward facing dog pose or come down and be on your forearms in a sphinx if you want. And then we'll make our way back again into down dog. So again, take your time. Let yourself enjoy finding that dog. Hug those elbows softly in towards each other. And we're going to do that same thing again. We're going to come on out towards a plank. Again, it is optional to do a back bend, or what kind of back bend too. So not necessary at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to find our lunge. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend again. Take your time. Now for this, you might want to be up higher, so you might want to have your hands on chair or the block, but bring your left foot a little more to the midline of your body and cross your right ankle in front of your left ankle so that your toes are facing forward. That front foot might not fully be on the floor, and you might have to bend your knees, right? And you might feel better to be up higher. So it doesn't take long to start to feel the back leg. So it's that leg that's behind that you start to feel pretty intense up the outside of your leg there. But just be mindful, and if you don't really feel much, going lower might make you feel a little more. You know, you might want to go down to your forearms if you're up on the chair. You might want to go down a little lower on your blocks. And just breathe. And then we're going to slowly come on up. We're going to uncross, and we're going to the other side. So again, the right leg comes a little more towards the midline. That makes it easier to cross that left ankle in front. And then again, you know, you just sort of adjust. If you need to let your knees bend, do. If you need to go stay up a little higher, do that. But just allow that stretch to happen through the outside of that back leg and all the way up maybe into your hip. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to uncross. We're going to get our feet right back under us, hips distance apart and parallel. And we're going to bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rise up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose here now. And if you need to shift around a little bit, do it. If you need to adjust your feet or look at them, you know, just get comfortable and get just to where you feel so evenly placed between your feet. And then as you let your gaze, whether your eyes are opened or closed, come on out like you're looking way out beyond the wall, which kind of opens up, right? So if you think about your focus and how important it is, like for a second, imagine you're looking down, you know, about a few feet in front of you on the floor, and how different that feels than when you look out and beyond the wall. Totally different feeling in the whole body, really. So one more breath there. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit, move around through your hands and your feet if you need to. If you're using your chair, I'm going to turn mine around. And we're going to have our blocks handy too at the front of our mat. And we're going to come into Warrior Two, stepping our right foot back, getting our feet however far apart we want for our warrior, whether it's 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet or more, and bending that front knee, looking and making sure that we're aligned there. And then see if you can float your arms up a little bit, but then bring your left arm on top of your right to give yourself a hug right here in your warrior. Let your elbows melt down. You can stay hugging, just letting yourself feel that openness in your shoulders and right there on your back between your shoulder blades. Or you can head towards that half eagle or eagle wrap if you want to with your arms. Not necessary to do that. Stay hugging if it feels better. Let yourself just enjoy feeling both your hips and your shoulders right now. And then we'll release to let the arms float down, and we're going to just rise them on up and out into Warrior Two arms, reaching out through the fingertips. Really feel that sense of softening at the top of the shoulders. And press the feet away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat. There are your hips. And then let's put our right hand down on our right hip. We're going to straighten our left leg out. And we're going to come down to triangle with that left hand. Now, maybe you want to put it on the chair and lean your torso out. You may want to go to the up to the back of the chair or down to the seat. If you like to lift your right arm straight up from your shoulder, you can. Perfectly fine to keep the hand right down on your hip. Now, if you can, imagine your thighs are lifting up towards your hips. So you're engaging all the muscles around your knees. Feeling that strength there through the legs. One more breath. And then we'll bend the left knee. We're going to come back to Warrior Two. If you need to put your hand on your chair for a little bit of balance work, help, take it. And then we'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel, and we're going to come on into a wide-legged forward bend. So you know, if you like blocks, grab your blocks. Whatever height you want to be, down to the floor or onto your blocks. And if bending one knee at a time is okay for you, go right ahead and bend one knee at a time. Let yourself, if you're doing that, be mindful. So really feel, I mean, it doesn't take much of a bend in one knee to get into the inner thigh of that long leg. Think about your arches still lifting up on your feet as you do this. Good. And then come back to center. See if you can bend both your knees just a little bit. And imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet so you feel that sense of pressing the feet away from each other and your inner thighs kind of reach back behind you. And then take your time, set yourself up to stay on here in this pose, whatever you want to do as far as support. So hands on the floor or using the blocks for your hands or your forearms or your head. And letting yourself get comfortable so that you can release now into your breath. Watching the breath all the way in and out. See if you can even out your inhales and exhales a little bit. So count when you breathe in, and then try to reach that same count when you breathe out, or pretty close to it. About starting to rise up, take your time. You know, however you need to do that, whether it's, using your hands on your thighs to help you or bringing your feet together more. And then when you're ready to walk your feet together, move through your feet, your ankles a little bit. And we're going to go the other side. So setting up with that left foot stepping back now. And again, just be mindful. Heels in line, right? Getting that bend of that front knee where you're not going inward. That knee is coming out. Think about even, just letting your inner thigh kind of come out over the inside of your foot so your knee lines up with the center of your foot. And then float your arms a little bit so that you can bring your left arm under your right to give yourself that hug. So as you hug, let your elbows melt down. And you can stay right there. You don't have to do any more. If it feels really good to feel that openness between the shoulder blades here, do. Or if you like to release your shoulders and head towards your eagle wrap, backs of the hands towards each other, or your left fingers into your right palm, you can. So So just enjoy again. Think about how right here, shoulders and hips. One more breath. And then we'll release the arms down, hands towards our thighs, and then float the arms on up from there. Really let them float on up and out. Bringing your gaze out over the top of that right hand, softening the shoulders down as you reach the fingertips away from the midline. Good. We're going to put the left hand on the left hip, straighten the right leg out, and bring the right hand down for triangle. Maybe right there on the back of your chair, lengthening your torso out over that front leg. Adding the arm up is totally optional, so you know that. You can keep the hand right down on your hip. Think about still that sense of length of the spine out over that front leg. And again, it's that engagement of the thighs upwards. Feeling that lift. Almost, and imagine you're trying to make your mat longer. You're pressing your feet away from each other and still lifting your thighs upward. Really good work for all the muscles in the legs and all around your knees. One more breath. And then we'll bend that right knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two, reaching those arms on up and out, softening the tops of the shoulders down. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel again, and we're going to come on forward. So take your time. Again, you know, whatever you like to put your hands on, or let yourself just release to where you're comfortable. If you like to bend a knee at a time, do. And then let's walk a little bit over towards our right, whether you just walk your blocks a little bit or you walk your hands all the way over towards your foot. And once you get as far as you want to go to the right, let your right hand come on up to your right hip. You can put your hand palm down on your sacrum if your shoulder lets you. And some of you might even want to roll your shoulder up. That's totally up to you. Adding that twist there. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. We're going to walk back through center, and we're going to go to the left. Again, it does not matter how far you go. It doesn't matter whether you're up on blocks or you're down on the floor. And then the left hand is going to come up to the left hip. If you can put your palm down and roll the shoulder up a little bit, you can. Or maybe you feel good to go ahead and look towards the side, or maybe even up towards the ceiling. You know, just be mindful. Let yourself enjoy being where you can there. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to walk back into center. Adjust however you need. If you feel like bending your knees, do. I mean, you may even want to bend both your knees for a second. Let your elbows support you above your knees and kind of squat back a little farther. But you do want to start to think about, as you get comfortable, whether you need to move your hands to a different place. I mean, remember, you can put your hands between your feet on the floor. You can put your forearms on blocks. You can hold on to your ankles if you want to. Sometimes it feels good to put your hands up on your back, clasped up on your back. That's a lot more, though, you know, into the back to do that. So just take your time. Once you've kind of moved around a little bit, maybe you can go back to that most comfortable place for yourself. Letting yourself feel the weight of your head, and then coming back to watching those breaths. Again, evening out, if you can, the length of your inhales and exhales. Good. One more breath. And now be really mindful as you come up. Again, if you're at all dizzy, take your time. Hold on to something if you need to. Let yourself be mindful as you come on up. And we'll bring our feet on together and move around again a little bit through your feet and your ankles. And this time, you may want to turn your chair around to let the seat of the chair face you. Or you do want your blocks like handy there at the front of your mat. And we're going to bring ourselves into lunge at first, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. We'll just come into a lunge. Just be mindful, let it feel like a good feeling lunge. Let yourself just enjoy. And then we're gonna make our way in towards pyramid pose. So bringing that right foot down to the floor, straightening both legs out here now. Remember that back foot is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees. You've got your thighs lifting up towards your hips. If you can float your toes up, the front foot's pretty easy, the back foot maybe not so much, but if you can think about floating your toes up and think about your arches lifting up away from the floor, do. And then let the toes release back down. Feel those thighs engaging up towards the hips and find a nice flat, long back. Once you've done that, whether your hands are on blocks or a chair, zip up your low belly a little bit, and then bring your left hand up to your left hip, and roll that left shoulder up a little bit, coming into Revolve Triangle. Hand can stay right there on the low back. You can stretch your arm up if you want, up from your shoulder, or you can just keep your hand right down there, finding that twist in the middle of the back. One more breath. And then bring the left hand down. We're going to bend that front knee. We're going to step forward with that right foot. And then right away, we're going to step back with the left foot into lunge. It'll feel kind of like a relief. So just find your lunge there for a second. Feel that bit of relief there. Good. And then we're going to come into pyramid. So you've got to, most of us will kind of draw that left foot up a little bit so that it comes down to the floor fully. Heels are on the floor, right? Back foot turned out 20 or 30 degrees. Now lift up your thighs. And then again, think about really feeling even through both sides of your body. Engage your belly a little bit. Let your toes float down if they were up. And we'll bring our right hand to our right hip. And we're going to revolve into that triangle there. This is Revolved Triangle pose. So try to get warmed up by doing that crossed ankle thing for the IT band, but this really gets into the outside of that right leg. The outer hamstring, but also the IT band there. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. And we'll bend the front knee, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And go ahead and come into your standing forward bend however you choose, right? I mean, if you've got your chair there and you'd rather kind of lengthen your spine out and do it, just be mindful. Release into your breath. And then let your hands come on up to your hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up. And inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's come into a T position with our arms straight out from our shoulders. And now bring your right arm on top of your left. Give yourself that hug. And then sit back a little into a chair pose. Doesn't have to be a low chair. It can be a little bit. So you're doing what you would do if you really were thinking about to sit down, right? So you don't sit down upright. You always let your body come a little forward to counteract your hips going back, right? You can do a whole eagle wrap with your arms if that feels better in this one too. So just be mindful. Feel those legs engaging. Feel your thighs engaging all the way into your hips. We're going to rise back up. We're going to undo our arms. We're going to float them right back into that T position. And then we're going to bring the left arm on top of the right. And again, as you sit back, let your elbows melt down a little bit. Hips shift back a little. If you want to go a little deeper, you can, right, in your chair. And again, if you like that wrap of your arms, if it makes it feel even better, go for it. Strengthening through the hips, into the legs. Feel your feet equal on the floor. And then we'll press into our feet and rise on up. Unfold our arms. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chest. Find your mountain pose. Again, if you need to sway, if your body just automatically sways, don't worry about it. Let it, because it'll sometimes sway a little bit until it finds that spot, right, where you feel very balanced. Good. And then we'll let our arms release on down beside us. Shake out, walk around a little bit if you want to. Good. And let's go go to a wall, and you don't really, we're not going to move our mats around. All you need to do is go to a wall so that you can put your hands on the wall, and face it, okay? And then from here, walk back towards like going into a down dog, but don't go as far. So in other words, I'm walking back a little bit. I'm going to bend my knees. I've got my hands on the wall. I'm not 90 degrees at my hips, right? If your shoulders really bother you, don't even do that, right? Bring your feet a little closer together and lift your right leg up behind you for a little warrior three, but let it be really low. So when your body is not down parallel to the floor, your leg is going to be lower. Let the pinky face down. Bend your left knee a little bit. Press into the wall a little bit with your hands and let yourself feel your whole body in the pose. And then bring that right foot back down, and we're going to go the other side. So the left foot comes up. Press equally into your hands. Bend the right knee a little bit. Press into that foot and reach back into that inner heel of that back foot. Yeah, it's strong. It's not as deep as far as going when you go really low with your body, but it's really good work. Come on back up. Come onto your forearms at the wall for a second. And let yourself come into like you're doing a forearm plank at the wall. So come into that straight board-like feeling of your torso. So not shifting back with your hips now, but really finding that long line. And have your elbows just forward of your low shoulders, not way up above your shoulders. And just press into your forearms on the wall. Let yourself find that forearm plank. And now see if you can, as you're pressing into your forearms, lift your heels up when you inhale and lower them back down when you exhale. It doesn't seem like such a big deal, but it is. So you can feel your belly working if you do this. If you're trying to stay really solid, when you inhale your heels up, your belly really works, and you exhale them down. So just a couple more of those. It's not about how high up you go, really. It's about keeping that engagement in the core of the body. Good. So one more breath, up and down. Good. And then walk on in towards the wall. Turn around so your back is to the wall. Walk your feet out just a little bit. Bend your knees and just release your back into the wall. Just let it feel good. Feel your thighs a little engaged, but let it feel really good. And just feel the release here into the hips. Now, you may want to come forward, and if you do, you may decide, well, I need to let my feet come out a little further. I want to put my elbows above my knees because it feels good, right? But the other thing, if any of you want to, actually come into straighter legs and reach down and put your hands on your ankles or the top of your feet, you can do that, right? Only if your back likes that, because it's not like being in a forward bend. Because your hips are back behind you, it's a very different feeling than when you're in a forward bend where your body is over your legs and the legs are right under you. If you don't find this relieving, don't do it. I just love it. Good. So one more breath. And now you'll bend your knees a little bit. You can put your hands on your thighs to help yourself back up to the wall. And again, see if you can get your back all the way into the wall. Let yourself feel your feet on the floor. Good. And then walk back. And let's turn our left hand towards the wall. And just bend your right knee. And you don't have to reach back and get your foot to get a quad stretch. If you bend the knee and flex the foot, you're going to feel your quad as the knee is facing down. If you want to get hold of the top of the foot, do. And you can push the foot into your hand, feel your quad engaging, and you can stretch your left arm up the wall if you want to, or balance, right? But really, just be where you can, where you let that quad get a nice stretch there. One more breath. And then release. Bring the right knee forward like you're stepping up a step for a second to find a little relief there. And then we'll put the foot down. And we're going to turn around and do the other side. So you're standing on your right foot, your left foot lifts up and you flex the foot, and you don't have to reach back and get it. This time the foot's behind you, remember? And if you want to reach back and get the top of your foot, you can. But you don't need to. And then again, if you like the right arm coming up the wall, you can do that, or you can keep your hand down. Pressing the foot, if you have the foot, press it into your hand a little bit. Let yourself feel that engagement of your quad. Good. And then release the foot down, bring the knee forward like you're stepping up a high step in front of you. Feel that release in your hip. And then release and come on back down. Very nice. Shake it out a little bit. And let's come back to our mats and come down onto our bellies on the floor. So take your time. Let yourself come down and make a little pillow with your hands if you can. Let yourself release. And once you're there, bend your knees and let your feet move around however you want. Circling, or perhaps you like to do side to side with the lower legs with that windshield wiper blade. Feeling there. Good. And then we'll come on back to long legs now. Come on to the tops of the feet, and let's come on to our forearms with our elbows under our shoulders here now. Spread your fingers wide. Let yourself bring your gaze there between your hands and your sphinx. And you know, if this is too much for you, go lower. Slide your elbows down more towards your waist and don't be up so high. But if you can, bring your gaze a little forward up between your hands. Feel that uplift in the front of the body. Good. One more breath. And now come about halfway down towards the ground, but slide your hands back by your chest. So now, I've got my hands by my upper chest. My head is off the floor. My chest is a little up. This is a cobra pose. Hugging the elbows in towards each other a little bit. It's a lot of work. Your back is working hard just to be barely up off the floor. You know, and I know some of you like the feeling of pushing into your hands and coming up higher feels good to some people. So if you like to come on up higher in towards a cobra, you can. Let yourself be mindful of feeling those elbows still softly hugging in. Good. We're going to release to come all the way back down. And we're going to make our way towards pose of a child. So big toes towards each other, knees apart, and you know however much you want to shift back with your hips. Maybe you'd rather stay kind of up in the air with the hips. Maybe it feels really good to shift your hips back towards your heels. Now be mindful of your arms. So you want to try to be comfortable in your shoulders, and you can always make a pillow with your hands for your head, or you can keep the arms just soft overhead with the elbows bent, or you can bring the arms back alongside your legs with the palms facing up. But let it feel good. Breathe into the low back. Good. One more breath here. And then bring your arms overhead if they're not already, and let's walk a little bit over towards our right. So, you may want to stay up on your forearms. You may feel like you want to stretch your arms out long. So you're letting yourself feel a little more stretch in the left side of the body, right? So you be where you're comfortable to be there. And then come on back through center, and we'll go a little to the left. And again, it's kind of up to you. You may decide you need to stay kind of up. You may decide your hips are up, but you're on your forearms and kind of staying there. You just got to adjust to where you're okay to be. Feel that stretch through the right side of the body. And then come on back into center again. One more breath here. And then we're going to come up on around to sitting. So how you do that is totally up to you, right? To bring yourself up to sitting and stretch your legs out. And if you need to grab a blanket, because we are going to sit and do a couple of twists, you might want to sit up on a blanket. You know, if it feels better for your hips, do it. Move through your feet a little bit. Do some little movements around there on your legs and your feet. Good. And then let's let our left leg come a little more to the midline and cross our right foot over to the outside, whether it's below or above your knee here for a twist. So if it's too much to cross over, don't. Put it on the inside. But if you can get it to the outside, above or below your knee, do. And then use your hands a little bit here to help you sit up nice and tall. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel your sitting bones equally into the floor. Inhale. And as you exhale, you're going to twist towards your right. Bring your right hand around behind you, only as far as you can go. Now you can keep your hand on your knee. You can, if the knee is really close to your chest, you might want to hook your elbow around it. Or you might want to bring your arm all the way across to the outside of that leg. That is totally up to you. We're all different in a twist. So just enjoy. Really feel the heel of that left foot on the floor. Draw it back towards you a little bit so you're engaged in that long leg. And let yourself really enjoy finding this twist here in the middle of the back. One more breath. And now be mindful as you come back. Use your belly to draw you on back around into center. And then all we're going to do is switch our legs out. So take your time. Bring the other leg forward. And again, below or above your knee. If you need to be on the inside of the leg, do. And then again, use your hands a little bit here to help you find that length. Inhaling into the length of your spine. And then as you exhale, bringing that left hand around behind you. Letting yourself come on around. Take your time. Just be mindful as you come on into your twist. Doesn't matter where your hand is, right? Feel the sitting bones in the ground. Feel that right heel on the floor. Good. And one more breath here. And as you come back around, let your belly be what kind of draws you back around into center. So you don't slump your way back around, right? You're still tall as you come back around to center. And then release your leg on down. Shake it out a little bit. And we're coming down onto our backs, but have a block or two handy as you do. You know, maybe even a blanket if you know that when you're on the floor you're going to need a blanket, have it too. But and then come on down, let your knees come in towards your chest. And at first, just have your right hand on your right knee, your left hand on your left knee. And when you inhale, let the knees come away from you and your arms go straight. And you'll feel how your low back comes into that natural curve. Now the next time you exhale, use your hands to pull the knees in towards you so your low back comes back down to the floor. So when you inhale, the knees come away. That natural curve comes back into the back there in the low back. And when you exhale, you pull them in and you feel the back come on back down to the floor. So you can do a couple more of those if they make your back feel nice and released. If you feel like you'd rather circle your knees, that's another really good feeling thing on the sacrum there. If you let your knees kind of stay close together and circle in one direction and then the other. Good. Now we're going to come back to knees centered, and we're going to put our feet down onto the floor. Let your feet come a little wider than they are in mountain. We're going to do our little bridge pose here. So feet are hip a little more than the hips distance that you are in mountain pose, right? And then think about being parallel with your feet. And let's bring our arms on down alongside us. Bend our elbows to 90 degrees. Let our palms face each other. And then just start to press down into the backs of your upper arms, which makes your spine rise up. You might even be able to roll your shoulders under more. And then keep pressing into your arms. Float your hips on up and let yourself adjust if you need. So if you get up there and it doesn't feel quite right, feel free to come down and adjust how close your feet are to your buttocks before you rise up, because that can change the pose drastically. If you get up there and you want to roll your shoulders under more, do. I mean, some of you might even want to kind of put your hands up on your low back or kind of up towards your, the tops of your thighs at the back there to lift yourself up a little bit. Or you might want to stretch your arms down long on the floor. Or clasp your hands underneath you too, right? So just play a little bit there in your bridge pose. One more breath. Feel those thighs. And then come on back down. Let yourself release slowly back down to the floor. Bring your knees in towards your chest again one at a time. And let your knees come a little side to side or circle if you'd rather. Good. And we'll do one more bridge, and it's your choice whether you want it to be a supported bridge or you want to come back up again to your bridge pose. If you'd rather do a support, you've got those blocks there. You can come up to any height you want on a block, lowest, middle, highest, right? So you're fully supported there so that you can let yourself totally relax into the block if that feels better to you, right? Or you may decide to play a little bit on the block. If you like to bring a leg up when you're up on a block or both legs up in the air, you can do that. You can feel free to do legs lifting up and down to engage your core a little bit. Just remember, if you play with leg lifts, trying to, find some abdominal work going on there, just make sure you stay very solid in your pelvis, right? You're not popping up and down at all. Very, very solid in your belly, in your low back. And if you're relaxed, stay relaxed, man. It's a great restorative pose, being in that supported bridge. Certainly might all need a little restoring for 2022. So when you're ready to come down, take your time, be really mindful, bringing the knees on in to the chest once you get down, and just letting your back release the way you want, side to side circles, just pulling them in if you want. Good. And then we're going to bring our feet back down to the floor. And we'll take our arms out beside us into like a T position, but where you're comfortable in your shoulders, right? And cross your right thigh over your left. So it's like the woman cross-legged sitting in a chair, right? And then lift your hips up 2 or 3 inches, move them to the right and put them back down on the floor. And let your knees come over towards the left. Now, as you come into this twist, your right foot is going to hit the floor pretty fast. So you can stay right there where the knees don't descend any lower. You can feel it in the outside of your right leg, maybe up into your hip, maybe into your back. You may decide to let your knees come down lower. Another thing that can be fun is to put a block underneath somewhere, right, that supports that twist on the outside of that left leg or maybe on the right leg a little bit. And you can stay and just breathe and release. So we're all different. Sometimes going all the way to the floor feels great, sometimes not. And just breathe. Nice, easy breaths. Now when you start getting ready to come back up, go ahead and uncross your leg pretty fast. You're very cockeyed, so you got to put your feet down, straighten your spine out again, get yourself straightened out there. And then we'll cross the left thigh on top of the right. And again, as you lift your hips up and shift them to the left 2 or 3 inches and put them down, the knees kind of want to go to the right. And again, you don't have to go very far at all. You can go just a little ways, support yourself there with your foot on the floor. You can use a block underneath to support if you don't want to go all the way down towards the ground. If your head naturally wants to turn to look to the left, just let it. And let yourself really try to let this be a very relaxed twist. So you just accept your breaths in and out. And when you get ready to come back up, again, you're pretty crooked, so when you start up, go ahead and uncross, straighten your spine out. If you're okay to bring your knees in and do a little happy baby pose, you can let yourself maybe even out that way. Or maybe there's something else your body wants to do, right? You might just want to bring your knees in. Or you might want to come more in towards a Baddha Konasana, separating your knees out and bringing the soles of the feet towards each other. Or perhaps something else feels better to you. You want to bring your legs up in first, and then I'll start around. I think it's chilly now, just wait. We won't be here in that long. And the floor will be really cold. Since you're kind of settling in, if you think, well, you know what, a blanket would be nice either for your head or for cover, let me know. If you need a bolster, let me know that. Tucked in. Yeah, it's chilly down here. Where's your whole body? Where's your feet? No? So just let yourself be with your breath now. Accepting your breaths in and out. When your mind wanders off, no judgment. Just allow yourself to keep returning your awareness to your breath. Feeling the sensations of the body as you start to relax a little deeper. Feeling that firmness of the ground supporting you. And just trust that your body will benefit the way it needs from all you just did. Giving yourself these few minutes to completely and fully
fully relaxed.